Oof, neck.
Okay. Hello. Thank you for joining us this week for another installment of Ask Epic. We meet every week to discuss all things Epic. We want to be able to provide new to Epic families and returning families a place to learn about all the opportunities we offer. And we have a lot of things to offer with Epic. And boys, it's going to be a great one today. We're excited. My name is Carla Smitherman, and I'm from the Epic Development Team.
Hey, everybody, and my name is Ashley Brown. I'm also from the Epic Development Team. Excited to be here today. I just want to throw this out before we get started. If you're joining and you have a question or a comment you'd like to ask either Carla and myself or any of our guests, please drop that in the chat box and one of us will address it. But if you have a question that maybe requires some one-on-one help, I am going to drop Carla and I's team email and phone number in the chat box, and you can reach out to us that way. And someone from our team will get you taken care of.
Very good. And we answer a lot of questions, so we love to get those. So send them our way. But today we're speaking with our curriculum and content coaches to learn more about supplements that are available to students, who might be struggling in math and ELA. So would you all mind introducing yourself to us? I will start with, let's see, I'll go ahead and start with Lindsay.
My name's Lindsay Headley. I'm the secondary ELA curriculum coach, and I oversee Nearpod vocabulary and No Red Ink. I have been an educator for 17 years now.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay. So how about Megan?
Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Gregory. I am one of the curriculum and math coaches. I'm also over Edgenuity, Imagine Math, and iExcel. My background in education is all special education. That's where I have my certifications and my experience. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Okay, Carrie.
Hi, I'm Carrie Privat. I'm one of the math coaches on the curriculum and content team. I am over Alex, Brain Pop, MobyMax, and Defined Learning, and I am in my 20th year in education.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. How about Kay?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name's Kay Shaughnessy, and I'm one of the pre-K to 5 ELA coaches. I oversee Accelerate, which is a core curriculum, Accelerated Reader, Mind Play, and I just blanked on the other one because I don't have notes about.
Lexia.
No, I don't do that.
Lexia? Oh.
I don't cover that one, but I'm talking about it today. But I started out with Epic as an Epic parent and then became an Epic teacher, and am so happy to be here. Thank you.
Well, we're glad you're here with us today. Okay, Lita. Did I mention Lita?
Hi, I'm Lita Briscoe. I am the third math coach, and I've been with Epic. This is going on my 6th year, and I oversee Bright Thinker, Dreambox, Coach Digital, and Freckle.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us. How about Tracy?
Hello, my name is Tracy Ray, and I am a pre-K through 5th grade ELA coach as well. And I oversee Waterford, My Math Academy, My Reading Academy, Reading Eggs, and Reading Plus.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Did I miss anyone? This is such a great group. I don't want to miss anyone, and the blocks are moving a little bit. Okay, I got everyone. Thank you. All right, wanted to make sure of that. Okay, wonderful. Thank you all for joining us today. So we are really thankful for all that you do for Epic, and we want to continue on. So our question is, in our tradition, we always ask our guests if they can share one amazing tip to help our families have great outcomes. So I'll just start and go all the way around again. So let me see. Let me go back to the beginning. How about you, Carrie? Can you share us one tip?
Yes, as a math coach, the best way to help your struggling learners with math is to try to make things as concrete as you possibly can, because we all learn from going from the concrete to the abstract. So any sort of visuals that you can provide or any sort of manipulatives where your learner can actually get their hands on and they can move things around and they can really see what's happening will help them.
Wonderful. That sounds outstanding. Okay. Thank you for sharing. How about you, Kay?
My best tip is to have a notebook to take notes for all the subject areas, and that way your kids can write out graphic organizers or make pictures to help with um, math equations, social studies content, any of those things, and just have it concrete where they can go back and look through it.
That is wonderful. All right. Thank you for sharing. Okay. So let me move on to Lindsay.
I think one of the most important things for struggling learners, regardless of the subject, is to be kind and graceful to yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself, and it's easy to give in to frustration. But you just have to kind of relax and trust yourself that you are capable of learning and that you can do great things. Um, I am an ELA coach, but I struggled a lot with math until I was pretty far in high school. And that came from just relaxing, not stressing out about it so hard. Just, make sure you do your work and be diligent, but also, don't be your own enemy as you go through the learning process, and just, try to enjoy yourself and try to learn from the experience.
That sounds awesome. Wonderful. Breathe in, right? So anyway, that sounds like a good one. Okay. Thank you for sharing. Alita.
So my suggestion is to get students involved in the decision-making process. Very often students are struggling because they can't make applications of what they see in the real world. They want to know, why am I having to learn this? So giving them those opportunities so they can see it firsthand is really important, especially for struggling learners.
That's a really good one too. Okay. Let's see, Tracy. And I think we only have Megan left right after that, right? Okay. All right, Tracy, we'll go with you next and then Megan.
Okay, my tip for struggling learners would be to read as much as possible. Parents, read with your students. There are various types of books that you can get, ebooks. Take trips to the library, make it meaningful. Let them touch the books. Let them have ownership and accountability for what they're doing, and that helps them to become advocates for their own learning as well.
Wow, that's an awesome one. We'll end with Megan.
I don't know if I could top all of those.
They were good, weren't they?
Yes, wonderful. My tip of the day is to make a consistent schedule and have clear expectations for everyone involved, including the parent, the family members involved, the student, and the teacher. That way, there's clear goals and hopefully a clear path on how to reach those together.
Wow, that was great. I think you all gave, I always say mic drop. I think this is a double mic drop time, Ashley, because those were all wonderful. If our families put some of those in practice, I know they're going to have great outcomes this school year. So thank you all for sharing those.
Yeah, absolutely. We're really excited to have you on. You guys are the experts. And so
Yes.
let's get started. So today we've already introduced our guests, but we're talking with a really important part of EPIC's instructional team. Something that's unique about EPIC is that it's not just your student and the teacher, there's a whole behind the scenes team at play and helping our students. And so the team we're talking to today, their mission is to support our teachers as they are working to address any and bridge any learning gaps that a student might be having. And so teachers are going to carefully assess student needs and employ essential supplements to ensure a positive outcome. And so today, what we're going to dive into is some of these supplements that are available to help students. Some of these supplements are things you order in addition to their typical content. Some are things that are offered to all or many EPIC students. So we're going to kind of dive in, and I'm going to give each instructional coach a chance to talk about the supplements that they are in charge of or over. And so if you have questions as they're discussing one of these supplements, please drop them in the chat box and we will get that question answered. So let's see. First up, we have Lita. And Lita, can you tell us a little bit about Dreambox?
I sure can. So Dreambox is just for math. It is adaptive and uses virtual manipulatives to help students. It can be used with students in K through 8. Unfortunately, it is not enterprise-wide, so it is something that you would have to purchase if you wanted to use it through the Learning Fund. But it allows students to really explore the concepts, especially students who are concrete learners who need that virtual space to manipulate and look at different math concepts.
Outstanding. Okay. Well, tell us a little bit of, so the learners that you feel, or you mentioned kind of the one that is best served by Dreambox. What are some of the best ways you can describe it? Like if I'm new to Epic and I have no idea what a Dreambox might look like. I mean, what might that look like?
Well, it's sort of game-based where they have where students have options where they can select different concepts that they want to work on. It is adaptive, so as students are struggling, it will go down, or if they're excelling, it will go up. Any program that is adaptive, it's really important that the students work on their own. If they get help or support from families, and I know it's something that we always want to do because we hate to see our students struggle, it will give them work that's beyond where they're at. And so it's really not going to help them because then they won't see what they need to see in order to work. Dreambox does have a new function this year called the Launchpad. And so it's a assessment that as soon as the students go into the program for the first time, it will assess them to see where they're at. And we also have it set up where at the end of first semester, we're going to have them go back and do that Launchpad again. It Parents will see the students will have questions that are beyond where they're at, and it's really important for those students to get those questions wrong because it's trying to get them to that correct level.
That's wonderful. I've used
Mhm.
Dreambox a lot, so I really, really am very fond of it with my students. Now, how about Coach Digital? Tell us a little bit about Coach Digital.
So Coach Digital is enterprise-wide for all students in grades 3 through 8. It is not as interactive as other programs. I would say it's more of a repository of different resources. What's nice about this is that the questions that the students are seeing in Coach Digital are very similar to what they will see at the end of the year at state testing. So if you have students who have severe test anxiety, it's a good way to expose them to those concepts. They also have lessons that correlate with those questions before they get there that walks them through step by step of how to answer those questions. Um, Everything in Coach Digital is something that can be downloaded as a PDF too. So if it's something that you want to print out and you want them to be able to write on, they can do that. It does not have as many accessibility features as some of the other programs. It doesn't have the built-in read aloud, but there are some Chrome extensions that you can put on that are read aloud.
Well, that makes sense. I love the fact that it does offer for the state testing assistance and the fact that there are ability to print those off. So that's great. How about Freckle? Let us know about a little bit about Freckle.
So Freckle is tied in with the STAR assessment benchmark uh, that the students are required to do. So as they are taking the STAR tests, it will talk to Freckle and it will place them based on their benchmark scores. Just like Dreambox, Freckle is adaptive, and so it will adjust to where the students are and how they're answering the questions. So it's really important, again, not to help students while they're working in Freckle when they're doing that adaptive mode. There is also a targeted mode. So if a teacher wants to assign specific skills to a student, maybe it's something that they're working in their one-on-one or in their group meeting with their students, and they want them to have some sort of questions that they're practicing in on, then they can do that as well.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Now, Dreambox, Coach Digital, and Freckle, tell us about about the Learning Fund. And does this come from the Learning Fund? All of those, three of those? Okay, very
So,
good.
well, Coach Digital is enterprise-wide, so that will automatically be assigned to students in grades 3 through 8. Dreambox and Freckle are not enterprise-wide, so they do have to be ordered through the Learning Fund. Dreambox is for students in K through 8, and then Freckle is typically K through 8, but they do also have some high school math courses now too.
Oh, that's great. Which one? Freckle has high school
They've
math?
got high school
Oh,
math.
nice. Okay, that's great. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing about Dreambox, Coach Digital, and Freckle. And Ashley has someone else to talk with now. Do you
Yeah,
have anything
absolutely.
else you want to share about any three of those before we move on? I think you did a great job of covering everything. So thank you, Lita. I appreciate you.
Mhm.
Awesome. All right, let's move over to Kay. Excuse me, Kay, could you tell me first about Accelerated Reader?
Sure. I have notes just so I don't forget anything. So Accelerated Reader, a lot of us know it by AR. It's an independent reading practice program where students choose their own books to read, and then they'll take comprehension quizzes after. And a lot of us may remember that from our school days, and we would read our books and then go to the file and pull out the test and take that, or maybe do it online. If that was our era. This is all digital now, except the books they can find within Sora, or of course, check out a paper book through their library. It's really great just for any reader that, like Tracy was mentioning, how reading, all of our kids will benefit from reading every day. And so this is a great program for um, any of our students, and they can choose books that are on their just right level, and they will know that just right level because like Lita was mentioning in one of the programs, the STAR assessment data flows over into AR, so that level is already right there. There's a goal setting feature, so students will have a purpose in reading because they know they're going to be taking a quiz afterward. Um, and there's endless choices of books that have quizzes attached to them, both fiction and nonfiction, so they can read for fun, or they can read to help supplement their science or social studies curriculum. And it is only $7.70 from the Learning Fund.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely have fond memories of AR. Back in the day, I was totally the kid that at least at my school, we had the AR store. So I was the kid that I was working hard on my AR test that I could go to the store and buy the biggest thing they had. That was my favorite. So is this something that the teacher would kind of set up for them? And do teachers offer any sort of, what should I say, incentives for students?
I think a lot of our teachers do. That's just up to teacher by teacher basis. Sometimes the parents will incorporate some rewards, and gosh, who doesn't love that, to reach a goal and get to go check out the dollar bin at Target or whatever. Yeah,
That's
that's really
exciting.
easy for teachers or parents to personalize for their kids.
Quick question I just thought of. So if a student purchases Accelerated Reader and wants to use it, can they hop on at any time and access a test, or does that have to flow through the teacher? Like, does the teacher have to assign it or anything like that?
The teacher doesn't have to do anything at that point, but the benefit for the teacher is that they then have all of that data. They
Hmm.
can see what their kids have read, what level, how did they score on these tests, and just see if all the data matches up from their STAR, from what they're seeing in their in-person teaching, to what are they actually able to comprehend
Hmm.
from text and which level.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's just exciting too to know that, a student can go to the library, bring home 10 books, and if they're really excited about it, they can go ahead and that next day take all the tests. They don't have to wait on the teacher to set anything up. Awesome. So let's move over. Can you tell us a little bit about Mind Play?
Mind Play is it's one of my favorites. It's an adaptive multisensory reading supplement. It's really, really great for kids who are struggling and just need some really solid support. It's an intervention tool that will work for students kindergarten through 12th grade. It provides that direct, explicit, systematic instruction that we know our struggling readers need. One really cool piece of data is that the average student will improve one grade level with just 20 hours of use. So it's super effective. Families who've used it, it's not the most gamey, flashy, fun program, but it works. It works really well. So if they can, kids can just go into it knowing that it's not set up to be, fun and animations and all of the bells and whistles, but just know that they're going to improve with their reading, and just know up front that it's kind of dry. Um, then those kids can be really motivated to stick with it, knowing, hey, I've worked this many hours, or I'm on my way to another grade level. And it has those assessments built in, and the kids can see their growth on those charts, which is really powerful.
Mhm. So, what would you say is your recommendation for, like, if a student were to be using Mind Play, what would you recommend as how much time they should spend in it a week?
Um, I would say 20 to 30 minutes a day, or to
Okay.
finish. I mean, if they're really needing to do some serious catch up,
Hmm. Okay.
um, yeah,
Awesome. And then, is this a supplement that they were purchased from the Learning Fund?
$34.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. And then the last one I have for you, Kay, is Lexia.
Lexia is another just gold mine of a supplement for kids who need that systematic, structured, science of reading based um, help with their reading. The one that we focus on most is called Lexia Core 5. We have a couple of other options, but again, it's adaptive. So as Lita was saying, with all the adaptive programs, the parents, the families can help the kids learn how to use the program, but not when choosing answers, because it will skew the results and skew the path that the student goes on. Um, it is designed to help our younger kids, pre-K to 5, bridge that gap from learning to read to reading to learn. Um, it's more engaging, I would say, than Mind Play, but I wouldn't say it's more effective. It's a different type of program for different, geared more toward the younger kids. It is free for our students in RTI tiers 2 and 3. And if another student wanted to use that outside of that, it's $33. And it's another really solid reading supplement.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's really cool. And like you said about this one, is that it blends. Am I right that you said it blends reading and science? So it's kind of doing double duty there. Is that right?
Well, kind of. There's a buzzword in the reading community called the science of reading.
Okay.
So all of the things that we know are effective in our minds, our brains learning to read. There are specific strategies and skills and all of those things. So this program, as well as Mind Play, is aligned to that science of how we learn to read.
I
So
gotcha.
yeah,
I heard you say science or reading. Now I got you science of
yeah,
reading. That's awesome. Thank
yeah.
you
Thanks
so
for
much,
asking.
Kay. Yeah,
Mhm.
of course.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I have had so much, I've heard great successes about Lexia. So I'm hoping that our families will really be able to take advantage of that, and our teachers. So, but anyway, thank you. But next we have Lindsay. And Lindsay, you've got some great things to share with us today. Nearpod can be a teacher's best friend, right? It's a great way of,
Absolutely.
such a great tool. I could not wait for you to share this with everyone. Go ahead and tell us about Nearpod, please.
Well, so Nearpod on the surface is just interactive slides. Okay. So if you think about from a teaching perspective, you might have a gap in your knowledge base, or your student might be struggling in their core curriculum, and you need to find a lesson that can support or offer them an alternative way of learning about a subject. Um, but it's so much more than that when you really get into the program. First off, one of the things that we struggle with a lot as EPIC educators is engagement. And Nearpod is such an engaging program. You can build in lots of different types of activities so students can check their knowledge in a lot of different ways. They can draw things out. So, like Carrie talked about, bringing things from the concrete into the abstract. So, you can learn about abstract concepts in math and be able to actually draw out equations and things of that nature. You can do matching, which is really great for acquiring vocabulary, or identifying things with the definition and the word. And there's lots of different applications. There's also a game section called Time to Climb that kids really, really love. So, Nearpod just offers so many different things that you can add into that instructional material. What's also really great is that teachers can give lessons to students live, like we're sitting together right now and I could share a lesson with you and we could go through it, or you can also share a lesson asynchronously so that the student can work on it in their own time. So I feel like it's the best of both worlds in that regard. Nearpod is available for a lot of different subjects, and it's also available for K through 12, and it is an enterprise-wide supplement, meaning that all of our teachers have access to Nearpod. So that is so fantastic. I mean, what a savings for all of our teachers and students to be able to use such an amazing supplement whenever they need to. With that being said, I think that the kind of students who could really benefit from Nearpod are the ones that struggle just to engage with the material. You can kind of feel a little distant, as you're going through like a core curriculum, if there's not sort of a check-in going on every little bit. What's really fantastic with Nearpod, and I think that they might have been pioneers in this aspect, but if you're watching a video in Nearpod, for example, okay, you do not have to just watch a 15-minute video and then answer a formative about it at the end. It'll stop every little bit and ask you questions to keep you engaged with the video and help you make sure that you're understanding what you're learning as you go through. And I am a big fan of that. I don't do well when I have to remember everything and then answer it at the end. I like to be able to sort of check my knowledge as I go along. So it's a fantastic supplement in that regard. If you have students who struggle with engagement, then definitely consider asking about Nearpod and seeing if it could be a good supplement for your students.
That sounds wonderful. Yes, it is a great tool, entertaining, engaging, and the way it stops, as you mentioned, so the learner can have check-ins is just something that was very useful. So I'm glad that we have Nearpod system-wide. So that is great. Okay, our next one is talking about No Red Ink, our writing supplement. So why don't you give us some information about No Red Ink?
So once again, quite a few grades have enterprise-wide access to No Red Ink. For grades 3 through 8 and grade 10, No Red Ink is completely free. And if you have students who are in grades 9, 11, or 12, it is available through the Learning Fund. And I think the cost for this year is $15. So it's not an extravagantly expensive supplement. First off, one of the things that is so great about No Red Ink is that when your student first signs into No Red Ink, they're going to fill out an interest inventory. And when they go into practice assignments, all of those questions will be tailored to your students' interests. So, as an example, when I set up my interest inventory, I put in the names of my pets and I picked out a few of my favorite authors. And so, when I do examples of practice, I get to see, my favorite creatures in the world get mentioned in the sentences. And I have actually had reports back from teachers that kids laugh when they go through their practice assignments because they are just enjoying themselves. Which, how many times can you say that about schoolwork? That's the gold ring right there. So I love that students can engage with the material like that and enjoy themselves as they're learning about a topic that a lot of people feel very a little intimidated by. Grammar and writing can really be stumbling blocks for a lot of people, students and teachers alike, to be honest. And No Red Ink just really does a great job of breaking down that fear and anxiety and just making it a lot more fun and simple to attain that knowledge. Speaking of ways that No Red Ink helps students, the second favorite thing that I have for that program is the way that they scaffold writing. Now, I'm sure we have all had assignments, whether that's as an educator or as a learner, where you get in front of the paper or you get in front of the doc screen and you just think, oh my goodness, I do not know what I'm going to write here. And that white page can just be, it can look like it's as big as the Himalayas. But what No Red Ink does is that it scaffolds the writing process and it breaks those things down into smaller pieces. So instead of, a great big blank page in front of me, I can just focus on one little part of it at a time. Like, hey, for right now, I'm just going to work on my introduction. And then I can click save and it'll, wait for me until tomorrow. Or I can, move on to the next part when I'm ready for it. And I love that. It's pretty much the closest program that I've come across that simulates what a teacher does in the classroom as you're going through a writing assignment. So it's just a really fantastic supplement.
I happen to really agree with you. I know a lot of my students were surprised when you talk about individualized instruction. Wow, No Red Ink does provide that, and I love how you describe that. It's absolutely the truth. I remember one of my students were excited when they saw Scooby Doo jump up at them a couple of times. I'm like, well, did you put that in your profile? So they said, yes, I did. So that is exciting for our family. So thank you for sharing that. Now I'm thinking also about No Red Ink. Do you believe that it's helpful for our families to get them prepared, like our eighth graders, for the writing piece for state testing?
Absolutely. There's actually a state writing section in No Red Ink, so you can see prompts that are written exactly the way that they will be on the state test. Teachers have the ability to add their writer's checklist into every writing assignment, so students can get familiar with using it. And they also have an entire section of writing samples where you have texts with writing. So it mirrors the experience that they will have when they go into that testing room.
That is wonderful. We want to give them as best ready for state testing as possible. So glad to have No Red Ink to help us get there. Okay, and you have another exciting one, Lindsay, and that is vocabulary.
Mhm.
And I know this is a very exciting supplement. Tell us a little bit about vocabulary.
So, another great thing about vocabulary is that it is enterprise wide as well. It's actually owned by the Nearpod company, so you can actually implement vocabulary into Nearpod lessons, which is just really handy. I think the most important thing to remember about vocabulary is that it is really, really fun. Um, so basically, vocabulary is song-based learning. So you can, go into vocabulary and locate a concept or a lesson that you want to do, and you will get to watch a really engaging, fun video set to music about the topic. And then there are other activities that go along with that that teachers can assign to their students. And it's one of those things, like when I first encountered it, I was like, oh, this is kind of like the Shirley method. That's kind of aging myself because that's the grammar format that I did back in the mid 90s. But then when I actually got to see it, I was like, oh, this is so much cooler than the Shirley method ever thought of being. Like, the songs are very catchy, and it really helps. Like, if you're not necessarily the most visual learner, the songs can really help with recall, even to the point where I've seen kids like working and then they'll kind of go and they kind of do the song in their head and then they're able to remember and answer the question, which is so cool. I mean, once again, when you have students engaging with the content like that and they really make that connection, it's so powerful. I also like that, same as with Nearpod, you have the ability to, be pretty superficial with it. Like if you just wanted to give a video to just supplement a little bit, you could do so. Or you could really take it in depth and give other activities that go along with that video and really build out a pretty extensive lesson for your students. And you can do that again, both live or asynchronously. So I love that flexibility for teachers.
That is wonderful. Yes, the flexibility is great. I found, Lindsay, that SPED learners really did well with vocabulary because of everything you just described. Tell me a little bit about, from a teacher or student's perspective, what is some of the feedback you've received you've mentioned a little bit about how they get into it with vocabulary, but tell me a little bit of like the compliments maybe people have given about Nearpod, No Red Ink, or vocabulary, or all three of them.
Well, what I've heard a lot from parents and teachers with regards to Nearpod is that they like the variety of different kinds of activities. It's not going to be the same, like, five multiple choice questions or, the same kind of like closing activity as you go through your lessons. And I think that variety really helps students stay with it. They're not going to be kind of feeling like it's a routine. And I think for No Red Ink, one of the biggest pros that I hear about it is the interest inventory, that students just really enjoy that the practice is tailored to them. They also like the amount of selection that they have with writing, because you have, oh gosh, probably hundreds of different writing topics that you can choose from. And speaking from an educator perspective, when I was a teacher, I would sit with my students and say, like, what topic would you like to write about this time? So as an example, I had a student who wanted to be a park ranger when he was going through No Red Ink with me. And so any topic that I could fit for animals, it was going to be animals for him. I mean, he just loved that. And I learned so many things. Some of them were more than I ever wanted to know because, like, this was a farm kid, like it was no holds barred. Um, so, but you can tailor those writing responses to what students are really into. And I love that they have that freedom and ability. I think for vocabulary, the biggest draw for it is just how fun it is. Like, it really makes learning really fun for students. And I love that because kids they just really enjoy it. And that's awesome.
That is, Lindsay. Okay, well, thank you so much for sharing about Nearpod, No Red Ink, and vocabulary. So Ashley has someone else to share.
Yes.
Has more to share.
Let's see. Carrie, can you tell us about Alex?
Yeah, of course. Alex is a supplemental math program that we have available to 3rd through 12th grade students. It is available through the Learning Fund, purchase as a supplement, but our 9th graders actually receive Alex as their ACT prep course to get ready for the ACT as an elective high school credit. So they will use that for math for that. It's an adaptive program. So as these ladies were saying, it's one of those programs that it's going to come in and they're going to take an assessment to start with. And it's super important that kids do not get help with that assessment. And then it's going to provide a list of topics that the student is ready to learn. Usually there are about 20 to choose from, sometimes up to 30 that the student can choose from. And then each topic, the student will go through and see just a short little lesson, and then they'll have 3 to 5 questions that they'll answer. And as they go through these topics and they learn, Alex will adjust what they're doing and what they're offering the student based on the student's answers and how they appear to be learning. Kind of the exciting part of Alex, when I talk to people, it's not one of those super bells and whistles, super engaging, very colorful. It's very straightforward, routine oriented as far as you're going to see a lesson and you're going to see 3 to 5 questions and it's going to be the same routine every time. But the really cool part about Alex is it is the only adaptive curriculum that we really have that is truly based on knowledge space theory and artificial intelligence. So most of our adaptive curriculums right now that when they adapt, they actually have a pathway that they've set out as we think that if they don't understand this, you should try this. And so they have a learning pathway set and they will just back forward or back on that learning pathway. Alex actually uses about 20 years of knowledge space theories and advanced algorithms that they did research on, and they are actually analyzing each student answer to decide where they think gaps and learnings are, and then they will offer what they need based on that. So it's really cool in that way. It continually assesses them. So every 5 hours or 20 topics, it will give them another assessment and based on all the answers. So that said, it's super important that the student works independently. So if you have a student that really likes to get in, they like to have their routine, they like their structure, they like that independent, I can do it and I'm going to learn. Alex is going to be perfect for them. We've just seen some really, really big gains. Alex is also great for those learners that need information broken down into smaller pieces and chunks at a time, because it won't just take a whole state standard. It'll be broken down into each little piece that the student needs to learn and step it off one by one, because that algorithm is deciding, oh, this piece looks like it's missing. And so I'm going to offer this piece to the students so that they can learn that. So it's really neat in that way.
Yeah, that's really cool. It sounds like it's very advanced, and it's neat to see how AI is playing out to help our students. We knew it was coming, and it's hard to believe that it's already here, honestly. And I think too, it's something I know that several of these supplements we've talked about today, the fact that they're adaptive and that you are going to have your student getting questions that they're not yet ready to answer. And I remember having this conversation as this teacher. Yeah, I know it's hard to watch your kid get the answers wrong and you want to help them so bad, but for these adaptive programs, it is so important. Let them get it wrong. It is okay. That's a part of the process, and I promise it will be okay. I just remember, I think more so with my littles, my students that were in the younger grades, the parents be like, "Oh, I hate to see them get it wrong," but it's good. Okay, and now you may have said this. I apologize. Is Alex something? Oh no, you did. It's Alex requires a learning fund purchase unless they're in ninth grade because that is their ACT prep supplement. Thank you. Okay, the next one, Brain Pop. This is a fun one. I know I used it in brick and mortar and at Epic as a teacher, so love to hear that this one's still around.
Yes, well, as Alex is a little more straightforward and routine oriented, Brain Pop is going to be the one that's going to engage your students with a lot of visuals. So it is a supplemental curriculum. It is available for our K through 8 students and a certain select number of our high school students. And it has just a huge bank of animated learning videos that your teacher can assign to students to view. And they also will have quizzes and activities that can be assigned that go along with them. They're all animated. They have little characters with them. They're super engaging for visual learners that like to have all of that sensory input when they're trying to learn. And again, like I said, it's really teacher assigned rather than being adaptive. So your teacher is going to go in and say, I noticed the student is struggling with these concepts. I'm going to go in and find this what the student needs, and I'm going to assign it to them so they can do it in this engaging way because they're not understanding it.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's a great program and it's really fun. Kids like it. It's a little fun break in your day sometimes too. Can you tell us about MobyMax?
Yeah, so MobyMax is another one of our adaptive supplements. And similar to Alex, it will offer an initial assessment for the student, and then it's going to place them into a learning path based on that. It is going to be one of those learning paths that's more of the pathway. We think, this is the concepts they have to learn before this. So if they don't understand, it will back them up to where they need to be. Um, it is more engaging than Alex's, but um, as far as it's like the colors and the kinds of things that it offers, but is like as far as the adaptive piece of it, it's less advanced than what Alex would offer. The nice, really interesting thing about MobyMax that some curriculums don't offer is that, and rather than being topic or concept based or lesson based, it's time based. So if you have a student that needs to just have that, they struggle and they need to have that, like, I have this much time, I have to work on this subject. I know that my own son, when he was younger, we used to have to get one of those visual timers and set it and be like, you are going to work on this for 15 minutes. Because otherwise he was like, nope, not going to do it, mom. Um, so it's really great because the teacher can set a certain amount of time they want them to work in each subject, so that they can do their time and then they can be done with that subject with that time for that program right then, and then move on to whatever else they need to do.
Wonderful. And the last one I have for you, Carrie, is defined learning.
Yeah, so defined learning is brand new to Epic this year. It's not one that's been utilized a whole lot yet, but I'm hoping it's going to start picking up some steam now that we're getting into closer to the second semester. Defined is actually project-based learning curriculum. So it is completely online, but the projects can be done online or offline. And it is an entire bank of K through 12, all subjects, even computer science. And the teacher can go in and type in an Oklahoma State standard that the student needs, and they will give them a list of projects that they can choose from. And these all have interdisciplinary involved. They are all career oriented. So they will show them connections to careers in real life. And every project has that element of choice for the student. So it will show them these are the problems that we're looking at in this particular situation. Here are your two choices for how we're going to work on this. We could do this project where we build this, or we could do this project where we make a presentation about that. And then the student really gets to dive in and they get to learn and apply everything that they have been learning in really a very practical way.
Yeah, that sounds really exciting. I hope to see that one catch on because any chance to get kids involved in some deep dives into their learning with project-based learning, that's amazing. And that one does require a learning fund purchase.
That one is enterprise wide for the
Oh,
entire school system, K through 12.
okay. Hear that, parents and teachers?
It's
Yeah.
free. If
Yeah,
you
there
have
you
it
go.
already, you're
Absolutely.
covered.
Thank you so much, Carrie.
Yeah, thank you. That is exciting about that defined learning. I was just waiting to hear who can get that. So that's great to hear that it's enterprise wide. Anyway, thanks so much. Okay, next we have Tracy. Tracy has a plethora of supplements that she's offering, some I'm very familiar with and have enjoyed with students. So Tracy, why don't you start off and tell us a little bit about Waterford?
Okay, Waterford is available through the Fund. It is a core curriculum for preschool students, and it is only offered for the pre-K students this year. It's an adaptive program that covers the subjects of reading, math, and science. Students do begin with the placement test, and of course, we've all said it, we need to let those babies work independently as much as possible, so that they can be working at their instructional level. Um, the test will create an adaptive learning path in reading, math, and science once they've completed that placement test. And then the individualizing instruction meets every child's needs and it improves engagement and it accelerates the learning.
Wonderful. That is outstanding. So if I'm a teacher and I wanted to assign that, I just go in and offer that to the students that fit. How can I get Waterford for my students?
Again, from the Fund, excuse me, but teachers do have the parameters to adjust the time spent in the particular activities as well as the goals. So if they see that their student is really struggling, they can alter and modify those goals to make sure that they're giving them those supplemental activities and reinforcement to help those students be met where they needed to be met. So.
That is wonderful. Outstanding. I really enjoyed Waterford for my family, so I love Waterford. Tell me a little bit more now about My Math Academy, My Reading Academy.
My Math Academy, My Reading Academy. That is the one that we are really enjoying this year. It is new. It is an Epic Essential for grades pre-K through second. It's automatically loaded for those students. It's adaptive. It also begins with the placement test, and it offers a game-based learning approach, which is very, very great for our type of students because we know our students are using technology all the time. They know how to do it and they can probably teach us how to do some things as well, right? Um, um, and then it also customizes the instructional activities at the student's instructional level, which is very important. Each skill or concept is addressed in a clear and coherent progression, while also considering the developmental stages of the students. Skills are taught in a strategic manner, building on previously learned skills, and then they gradually introduce more complex skills to the students.
Well, that sounds great. Anytime you say games, you had me at games.
Yes.
I know our students, especially at that age, they love those games, and anything we can use to improve their outcomes is great. So I like
And they're,
that.
they're actually learning. They're
Right.
playing while they're learning. So, that's a plus. That is a
Absolutely.
huge plus.
Okay, great. So you had some really good input and that from families and from teachers so far?
Yes, teachers are loving the access of being able to see the reports, to see the data and usage that their students have been using. And also they like the family portal. So families also have access to their students' learning so that the parents can actually get that redemption code from their student's teacher. And if they have multiple students that are in My Math Academy, My Reading Academy, they can set those students up on the same program so that they can see that on the family portal so that they can stay connected and work heavily and closely with the teacher.
That sounds wonderful. That creating that partnership that we love with Epic, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so you have some last two that are really, really very popular, Reading Plus and Reading Eggs. Why don't you just go ahead and tell us about both of those? These are
Okay.
great supplements.
Yes, Reading Plus is for grades 3 through 12, and it's also great for ELL students as well. It's an adaptive literacy program that provides instruction on improving fluency, comprehension, vocabulary, stamina, and motivation. The program includes an adaptive assessment, personalized instruction and practice, and it easily has resources that teachers can use to meet the needs of every student, which is a plus. Key takeaways about Reading Plus. It's easy to implement. The program is user-friendly for students and teachers, and online training makes it easy to hit the ground running for teachers. The program supports social emotional learning as well and boosts motivation by offering students choice from a diverse selection of high interest texts at all reading levels. So when we give students choice, it makes a difference. It matters to them. Instruction is personalized. Using the online assessment tool, each student will receive scaffolded instruction based on their individual needs. Writing exercises extend student skill building as well. We love to hit that writing and include it in our curriculums, right? And it further supports the development of the social emotional learning competencies as well. And then I have reading eggs.
Yes, you have the Reading Eggs, the very popular Reading Eggs. Please
Reading
share
eggs.
with us Reading Eggs.
Yes, and it's available through the Learning Fund as well, and it's geared for students pre-K through fifth grade. Reading Eggs, as the other curriculums, begins with an assessment, and it begins at the emergent level, helping learners to develop foundational skills that are probably missing or lacking as they learn letter sounds, spelling, sight words, and basic sentences. So after their initial placement tests to determine where the students are ready to start, learners can immediately begin building skills with short, scaffolded instruction and practice to develop reading automaticity, okay? Reading smoothly. Reading Eggs makes learning to read interesting and engaging for students and families. They can work, even though we want them to let the students work independently, it's still good for them to be around just to not help, but, give that extra encouragement. Children love the games, the songs, the golden eggs, and other rewards, which, along with feeling proud of their reading, really motivates them to keep exploring and wanting to learn.
It really does. I'd have to have some of my families put time on their Reading Egg participants because they don't want to stop it.
They don't want to
But
stop.
anyway, well, Tracy, that's wonderful. Those are some great supplements, and I know that these really help our families have good outcomes, and we know our teachers love those. So anyway, thank you for sharing. I think we have one left.
Yeah, last but
Ashley.
not least, we have Megan, and Megan's going to talk to us about first Imagine Math.
Thank you guys. So Imagine Math is a math program. It's adaptive. It's available for all students, but it's free and automatically loaded for all grades 5 through 8, all of our students in those grades. One of my favorite things about Imagine Math is it does start with an assessment, like most of our supplements, and it creates a pathway depending on the student. However, a teacher can go and customize the pathway or assign additional lessons depending on where a student might be struggling, but it also allows a student to work ahead. It goes up to high school math. So if you have even advanced learners that need the opportunity to work more or work independently on higher standards, then it allows that opportunity. So it kind of bridges the gap for those that are struggling that need the additional support in the lower end. And it also allows our students that need to grow and give that chance to them as well. It's really great because it also has the option for students to access a tutor within a lesson. If they need additional support, they can do that through, depending on the lesson that they're working in, they have that access as well.
Wonderful. And you said that's all grades. Was it, did you say 5 through 8?
Yes, 5 through
Yes.
8, it's automatically loaded, and then
Okay.
it's available through the Learning Fund for all of the other grades.
Wonderful. Thank you. And our last one, IXL. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I'm a bit partial to this one. So IXL is enterprise-wide for all of our students, and it has a variety of options on subject material. For our younger students, it only has math and ELA for grades pre-K through 1, and then our high school students, it also just has math and ELA. Grades 2 through 8, we have the options for science and social studies as well at this time. And what is so great about IXL is not only do our students have access to all of the skills on all the levels, the teacher can go in and assign depending on the student progress and what they need support in. It also allows the students to work together. You can create group jams, create games, and really engage your students in a more applicable way, and getting them to practice and apply what they're learning. It's really great to practice skills. It's not really built for lessons or to replace a core or replace the teacher, but it gives them the opportunity to apply things they're learning and see how they do independently.
Yeah, absolutely. That was one of my favorites as a teacher. When a student, you've introduced a concept and maybe they're struggling with it. At the end of the day, practice is what you need. That consistency of getting the same type of skill over and over. And it is really neat, like you said, the way you can use it as a group and kind of try to make it more fun, make it almost like a competition. It's a really good one. I
Mhm.
love that one. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Megan, for sharing.
Thank you,
Yeah,
guys.
wow, I don't know how to this has been such a great group, I tell you, with such hardworking, epic, employees, and we really appreciate all you all do to create the best outcomes for our families. Now, we have to reiterate, this is not the core curriculum. These are supplements, but they act as just a great addition to the plethora of options that we have for our families. And it offers that individualized option that we always discuss, right, Ashley? We really talk about differentiating that instruction. So all these options help to give those teachers what they need. Anyway, so the EPIC supplement curriculum, it just plays a pivotal role in tailoring our instructional approach, whether it's adaptive supplements or a combination of both. So when students approach these resources with fidelity, we want to make sure we say that, right? Right, team? Fidelity, which means we want consistency and commitment with these, not just once every blue moon. But anyway, they have the potential to yield the enhanced outcomes. These supplements are teacher recommended, and when students receive guidance from their educators and support from the families, which we've mentioned that a lot, member can sit right there and partner with those students. They gain the capacity to bridge learning gaps and make targeted improvements where necessary. So we just have great support for our families with all of these. And behind the scene, this is our behind the scene team that we talk about. So thank you all today. We appreciate this team doing everything that you're doing for our families.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate you guys joining today and kind of giving us more information. Those of you that were watching today, if you have more questions about any of these supplements or really anything to do with Epic, and maybe you just weren't quite confident enough to type something in the chat box, Carla and I have left our team phone number and email address in the chat box, but our email is edt@epiccharterschools.org. We are happy to answer your questions. Maybe we need to field you to somebody from this instructional team. We're happy to do that. If you just have general questions about Epic, again, our team, that's what we're here for. We just want to make sure that families have all the information that they need to make the best possible choice for their students. So thank you
All right.
everybody for
Thank
joining
you for
us
joining us.
and come back next week for Ask
Ask
Epic.
Epic. Bye,
Bye.
everybody. Thank you all.